James Harrington was the kind of man who seemed to have it all. In his early 40s, he had built a life that many could only dream of. A self-made millionaire, he was the CEO of a thriving tech company that he had started from scratch a decade ago. His business acumen was unparalleled, earning him respect in the industry and admiration from his peers. At home, James lived in a sprawling estate nestled in the suburbs, a testament to his hard work and success. His wife, Laura, was the epitome of beauty and grace. They had been married for 12 years, a relationship that appeared to be the perfect blend of love and partnership. To the outside world, they were the golden couple, attractive, wealthy, and deeply in love. His trusted business partner, Richard, had been by his side from the beginning, helping him turn his ambitious dreams into reality. Together, they had built an empire. But, as it is often said, not everything is as it seems. One evening, after returning home late from a business trip, James decided to catch up on some work in his study. As he logged into the company's server, a message notification popped up on his screen. It was from Laura, but oddly, it wasn't addressed to him. His heart sank as he read the intimate words exchanged between his wife and his business partner, Richard. The messages were explicit, leaving no room for misinterpretation. In that moment, James felt as if the ground had been ripped out from beneath him. The perfect life he thought he had was nothing more than an elaborate illusion. Betrayed by the two people he trusted most, he could feel a wave of anger rising within him. But instead of confronting them in a fit of rage, James did something unexpected. He took a deep breath, closed his laptop, and leaned back in his chair, his mind already calculating the best way to turn this betrayal to his advantage. Suppressing the hurt and rage, he made a silent vow. They would pay dearly for their deceit. But he would not act out of impulse. No, James Harrington was a man of strategy, and he would bide his time until the perfect moment to strike. The wheels of revenge had been set in motion. In the days following his discovery, James Harrington transformed from a loving husband and trusted partner into a cold, calculating strategist. He knew that confronting Laura and Richard in a heated moment would only give them the opportunity to spin their lies and turn the situation against him. No, his vengeance would be slow, deliberate, and devastating. James spent countless hours poring over the company's financials, identifying assets that could be liquidated without raising suspicion. He began discreetly transferring funds from the company's accounts into newly created offshore accounts under his name. These accounts were well hidden, with layers of legal protections and false ownership trails that would be nearly impossible to trace back to him. He also started diverting company profits into these accounts under the guise of reinvestment and international expansion. To Richard, it seemed like typical business maneuvers, but to James, every dollar moved was another brick laid in the foundation of his revenge. Laura, oblivious to the intricate financial dealings, continued living her life as if nothing had changed, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Knowing that financial maneuvers alone wouldn't be enough, James sought the counsel of a top-tier lawyer, someone who specialized in corporate law and asset protection. He needed to ensure that every move he made was legally airtight. After all, he intended to come out of this clean, leaving his betrayers with nothing but ashes. He arranged a series of secret meetings with the lawyer, under the guise of regular business consultations. Together, they crafted a meticulous plan. The lawyer helped James establish a series of trusts and shell corporations, each designed to shield his assets from any potential claims Laura or Richard might attempt once his plan was set in motion. They also discussed the potential fallout and how James could protect himself from any legal repercussions that might arise once the truth was revealed. The lawyer was impressed by James's foresight and precision, noting that most clients in his situation acted impulsively and recklessly. But James wasn't most clients. He was playing the long game, and every detail mattered. As the weeks turned into months, James continued his silent preparations, knowing that with every step he took, he was tightening the noose around Laura and Richard's necks. The thrill of anticipation began to replace the pain of betrayal, as he imagined the day he would finally spring his trap and watch their lives unravel. After months of meticulous planning, James Harrington was ready to execute the final phase of his revenge. With the company's most valuable assets safely tucked away in secret accounts, he turned his attention to selling the business, an operation that would require utmost discretion. James began by contacting a trusted investment firm, one with a reputation for handling high-profile acquisitions with absolute confidentiality. He carefully crafted the narrative. He was looking to retire early, to spend more time with his wife, and was therefore open to selling his stake in the company. The firm, eager to secure such a lucrative deal, assured him that the sale would be conducted swiftly and silently, with no leaks to the public or, more importantly, to his business partner, Richard. The negotiations were swift, with the company's books showing steady growth and profitability. Thanks to James's earlier maneuvers, the investment firm quickly found a buyer willing to pay a premium price. The buyer was a large conglomerate, interested in expanding their tech portfolio. They were thrilled at the prospect of acquiring James's successful enterprise and agreed to keep the sale under wraps until everything was finalized. James handled the negotiations alone, carefully excluding Richard from any discussions. Richard remained blissfully ignorant, completely unaware that his livelihood was about to be ripped from beneath him. Meanwhile, Laura was equally oblivious, continuing her affair and spending James's money, unaware that her days of luxury were numbered. As the sale moved toward its conclusion, James took the time to meticulously gather all the evidence of Laura and Richard's betrayal. He compiled the text messages, emails, and any other incriminating evidence he could find, organizing them into a detailed file that would leave no room for denial or excuses. He also made sure to secure copies of the sale agreement and other legal documents related to the transfer of the company. Everything was set up so that when the moment came, Richard and Laura would be left without a leg to stand on, both personally and financially. The final days before the sale were the most nerve-wracking. James maintained his calm demeanor, going through his daily routines as if nothing had changed. He interacted with Richard and Laura as usual, even feigning affection toward Laura, though every touch was laced with the knowledge of her betrayal. Finally, the day of the sale arrived. The deal was signed, the money transferred, and the company was no longer his. James felt a weight lift off his shoulders, replaced by a sharp anticipation. The stage was set, and his enemies were unknowingly walking into his carefully laid trap. That evening, James returned home with the documents in hand, ready for the confrontation that would bring his plan to its dramatic conclusion. The time had come to reveal the truth and watch as their world crumbled before them. The atmosphere in the Harrington household that evening was unusually quiet, with only the faint ticking of the clock breaking the silence. James had asked both Laura and Richard to join him in the living room for what he described as an important discussion. His tone had been calm, but there was a coldness in his eyes that neither Laura nor Richard had noticed, until it was too late. As they sat down, James wasted no time. He pulled out the folder he had meticulously prepared, filled with the evidence of their betrayal. He placed it on the table in front of them, his movements deliberate, his expression unreadable. "I know," James began, his voice low but steady. "I know about the affair, Laura. I know about everything, Richard." The color drained from Laura's face, and Richard froze, his eyes wide with disbelief. They exchanged panicked glances, but James continued before they could speak. "For months now, I've been aware of your betrayal," he said, opening the folder and pulling out the stack of printed messages, emails, and photos. He tossed them onto the table, the pages scattering across the surface like damning pieces of their broken trust. "I've known about every lie, every secret meeting, every moment of deceit." Laura's eyes welled up with tears, her hands trembling as she reached for the evidence. Richard, on the other hand, remained silent, his mind racing to comprehend the situation unraveling before him. "But that's not all," James said, his voice now edged with a dangerous calm. "While you two were busy betraying me, I was busy taking care of something far more important. The company, our company, is no longer ours. I've sold it. And guess what? You both get nothing." Richard's mouth fell open, words failing him as he processed what James had just revealed. You sold the company? Without telling me?" he stammered, his voice laced with shock and desperation. "Yes, Richard, I did. And why would I tell you? You forfeited any right to know when you decided to sleep with my wife," James replied, his eyes narrowing. "All the assets are in my name, and everything has been legally transferred. You're out. Both of you." Laura, now fully grasping the enormity of her situation, fell to her knees beside James, tears streaming down her face. "James, please. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. Please, don't do this. Don't leave me with nothing. I made a mistake, but I love you. Please give me another chance." She sobbed, clutching at his leg. James looked down at her, feeling nothing but a cold detachment. The woman who had once been the love of his life was now just a stranger, her pleas falling on deaf ears. He gently pried her hands away from him, taking a step back. "You didn't just make a mistake, Laura. You made a choice. And now, you have to live with the consequences," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "You chose Richard over me, and now you can have him, without the money, without the company, without me." Richard, still reeling from the shock, tried to salvage the situation. "James, listen, we can work something out. There has to be a way to fix this. I never thought you'd find out. We can still—" James cut him off with a sharp laugh. "Fix this? There's nothing to fix, Richard. You betrayed me, and now you've lost everything. I suggest you start thinking about your next move, because I guarantee it won't involve my company or my money." With that, James turned his back on them, walking out of the room and leaving them both to wallow in the ruins of their shattered lives. He could hear Laura's desperate cries and Richard's futile attempts to console her as he walked away. But he didn't look back. James had orchestrated the perfect revenge, and now, finally, he was free. With the dust of his old life finally settled, James Harrington found himself standing on the balcony of his new penthouse, overlooking the bustling streets of New York City. The decision to leave his old life behind had been easier than he had expected. The estate, the company, even the memories tied to those places. He had walked away from them all without a second thought. The funds from the sale of his company, carefully reinvested through a network of financial advisors, had multiplied, providing him with the financial freedom to start fresh. James had always been a visionary, and with nothing to hold him back, he poured his energy into a new venture, a startup focused on cutting-edge artificial intelligence. It was a field he had always been passionate about, and now, unburdened by betrayal and deceit, he could fully dedicate himself to it. James assembled a small, dedicated team of like-minded individuals who shared his vision. This time, he chose his partners carefully, prioritizing loyalty and integrity above all else. The new company quickly gained traction, attracting investors and clients who were eager to be part of the next big thing in tech. It was exhilarating to be building something from the ground up once again, but this time, James was determined to protect what he had created with an unwavering resolve. As the days turned into months, the pain of Laura and Richard's betrayal faded into a distant memory. Occasionally, he would hear whispers about their misfortunes, Richard struggling to find work, Laura living a modest life far removed from the luxury she had once enjoyed. But James had no interest in their current lives. He had moved on, and the future was bright. On a quiet evening, after a long day of meetings and brainstorming sessions, James found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this point. His thoughts wandered back to the moment he had discovered the betrayal, the cold, calculated steps he had taken to ensure his revenge, and the satisfaction he had felt when it all came to fruition. Justice, he mused, was not always served by the law. Sometimes it required a man to take matters into his own hands, to outthink and outmaneuver those who wronged him. But as he stood there gazing out at the city that never slept, James realized that the real victory had not been in their downfall, but in his own rise from the ashes of that betrayal. Loyalty, he understood now, was a precious commodity, one that should never be given lightly. He had learned to value those who stood by him and to be cautious with his trust. The new life he had built was founded on these principles, and it was stronger, more resilient because of them. As the lights of the city twinkled below, James felt a deep sense of peace. His past was behind him, and he had emerged not just unscathed, but stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever the future might bring. His revenge had been sweet, but the satisfaction of building something new, something honest and true, that was sweeter still. James smiled to himself, knowing that he had finally found the justice he deserved. And as he looked out over the city, he knew that his new beginning was only just getting started. If you enjoyed this story of betrayal, revenge, and ultimate triumph, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, Only Stories About Men. Here, we bring you gripping tales of real men overcoming the toughest challenges life throws at them. Join our community and never miss a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.